Twitter blew up.
More offensive than a presidential tweet.
Russia, China, Japan, Mexico, all countries will respect us far more than they do under past administrations.
PC Radio with Stu and Rich. Mojo 50 Radio.
And on the OpsLens app, we talked about the importance of downloading the OpsLens app. What is today? Today is September 29th. So 2 days left of Facebook, presumably. If you have a pro-Trump or anti-Biden message, it's pretty clear that you're going to be banned from Facebook. I've got multiple reports from over 24 friends of mine whose Facebook pages, Richard, have already been completely disabled. They can't get their pictures. They can't retrieve their messages. Nothing. It's completely shut down. The Amendment 1A is under complete attack by the mainstream media, by social media, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. We don't know exactly what the new quote unquote community standards are going to be for Facebook, but they're going to be very limiting. We've already seen them silently get rid of your ability to communicate through Messenger with any more than 5 people at one time. So we're not going to censor you. We're not going to tell you no, you can't say that. We're just going to tell you that you can only say it to 5 people. You can only communicate with 5 people at a time. So Amendment 1A is under attack. 2A we already know is under attack. Liberal progressive radicals want to come after your guns. They have been doing this since the inception of the radical Obama administration, and now we have new tax findings. The New York Times was able to get a hold of, and we were talking. I was talking off the air with Manny Alicandro, and we're going to bring him in here. He's a New York attorney. He's a contributor for the OpsLens Network and a host of Real and Unfiltered on OpsLens, and very well studied about everything legal. And we were talking about the tax findings that the Biden administration is now going after Trump on, and all of the liberal Democrats are jumping on this bandwagon. They're going after him. There's 2 separate issues here. Is there a legal issue with Trump and his quote failure to pay tax, and is there a legal issue with how did the New York Times obtain said tax records? The debates are tonight. Grab your popcorn. This is going to be a good one. We had a 911 outage last night that was it swept the whole nation. We did a break on this last evening, and I had Matt on, a friend to PC Radio, who used to work on these 911 cell towers, and said that this is absolutely impossible. There's so many fail-safes set up for this to happen. And then on Twitter this morning, I was seeing something on our page at Correct Radio that there appears to be a connection between the Microsoft Azure Cloud Services software outage and the 911 outage as a result of the use of VoIP software. This is of important note because Microsoft has recently won several federal service contracts. So we don't know what's going on. Certainly very fishy, especially amid everything that is going on. But in the debate tonight, lots of legal matters are going to come into play. And so to discuss those things, we are going to go directly into Manny Alicandro. Manny, welcome back to PC Radio. Thanks a lot for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So tonight, big debate, long anticipated. Biden and Trump, they are going to face off. Biden's coming out of the basement. He's not, very practiced. It doesn't seem that he's a practiced debate guy, especially of recent. They must really be working hard on him and remembering how to stay on task. There's not going to be a teleprompter there for him to answer these questions. So it's going to be a matter of what are going to be, do you think, what's going to be the main key? What is Biden going to go after Trump on first, right out of the gates?
Yeah, great question. If I was advising Biden, I would say taxes, right? Come out of the gate swinging with a right hand. I'm assuming Biden's right-handed for argument's sake here, but, haymaker, right hands, left hook, right cross. Go after him on the taxes, right? So the taxes issue is a very interesting issue. Every presidential candidate and president has pretty much released his taxes. There were some issues with the Nixon administration in the end, and Spiro Agnew was a vice president, but predominantly the presidential candidates release their taxes. It's a demonstration of transparency. It's a demonstration of compliance and ethics. Trump has not released his taxes. In 2016, Hillary Clinton came after Trump. It was reported even last night during the debates about Trump not releasing his taxes clearly, and there was also a question about that whether or not Trump had paid any income taxes because of tax avoidance legally permissible tax avoidance, deductions and losses that he claimed. I guess the question is now, the New York Stock Exchange seemed to get access to Trump's taxes over the last 10 years or more. The question is, where did they get them? How did they get them? And is it permissible for them to publish taxes that someone effectively leaked? I mean, whoever leaked those taxes is in violation of the law. That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
So that's one.
The Trump administration is saying, look, I mean, have you ever built a couple $100 million real estate project? There are a ton of expenses that go into this. The Trump administration says that that Trump and his organization are under audit right now. So is it appropriate for the taxes to come out prior to the audit being completed? We have to operate under the pretense that this could be 100% legal, what Trump is doing and what he's claimed and what he's paid.
Absolutely. And really the only way to wrap our arms around this and get some certainty and clarity is for Trump to release some of his tax returns, maybe even on a redacted basis. So even though Trump is claiming that there's an audit of his taxes, there is no legal prohibition that I'm aware of that would prevent him from releasing his taxes. They're his taxes, so he has ultimate discretion, even if he's under audit, to release those taxes publicly. Now, the question is on the table about whether, right, when you have such an incredible amount of income and multiple sources of income, as President Trump has had for many, many years, he's a very wealthy and successful guy. There are a lot of opportunities in terms of taking deductions, demonstrating losses. The question is going to be, were those done appropriately, adequately, and legally? Because we can't do anything under the IRS code, obviously, to avoid paying taxes, right? So now the onus, because this is released and the timing of it clearly, and this was clearly intentional, was to put the onus on Trump to defend the fact that he did not do anything untoward and illegal and anything to avoid paying his taxes. That whatever he paid, if he paid, how much he paid, was legally permissible and done in accordance with the law. That's difficult to do if it's uneven, meaning that the New York Times claims to have information. The public won't see that information because the Times can't release it. And if Trump doesn't release it, then it's a he said versus the New York Times said. As a result, unfortunately, Biden could jump all over that because it's difficult for Trump to refute without any substantiation, as far as I'm concerned. So Trump, I think, on the taxes, although at the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think for purposes of the debate, it is a big deal, and he's going to have to address it tonight.
Well, I don't think it's a big deal either, Manny. I think that if he was a brand new candidate and didn't have 4 years of doing what he's been doing under his belt, then it might be more of a concern at this point. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit about his taxes. I give a shit about what he's doing for this country. And you're right. He'll probably have to answer for it in the debate, but I don't think it'd be a huge deal.
It's not going to change the mind of the voter.
We're not voting on it. We're not voting for him based on his taxes.
Probably not. But what it is it's giving meat, throwing meat to a rabid mainstream media, red meat.
Yes.
And that's the issue, right? So instead of Trump being on the offensive, he has to be on the defensive. It's difficult to throw punches when you're stepping backwards.
There's been essentially a complete media blackout on the other side of corruption as far as what Hunter Biden has been alleged to have done by the Trump administration. And there's evidence of this, that Hunter Biden, it's already on tape that he received millions of dollars from Burisma. He's now alleged to have received millions of dollars from the I believe it's the husband of the mayor of Moscow. And how does Trump's allegations come into play here? How can Hunter Biden get on Air Force Two, the people's plane, and go to China and get money and then come back and not talk to his father about what's going on out there? There's been a total media blackout on this. Does Trump go swinging after Biden on this tonight, Manny?
Absolutely. I mean, this clearly is one of the strongest areas, I feel, for President Trump to go after Biden. And as a result, not only will it potentially fluster Biden, but get him upset, right? When you watch Biden at the earlier debates, in terms of the Democratic primary debates, he gets flustered.
He does.
And when he gets flustered, he gets angry, and he loses his train of thought. And then that goes towards the allegations of dementia, and then he's on performance-enhancing drugs or whatever, that something's wrong with him. And if you fluster him and you say something to get him pissed off, and going after Hunter in this way, alleging illegality, alleging fraud, alleging cover-up. It will put him on the defensive.
The performance-enhancing drugs thing is interesting, and I thought it was pretty calculated for Trump to call for him to take a urinalysis and to submit to chemical testing. So the question here for you, Manny, is the Biden administration saying we're not going to do that because there could be some guilt there, or is it no, we're not going to do that simply because Trump is saying we should do that?
I think it's the latter, right? I think talking about taxes goes towards the ethics and integrity of the candidate or the president, but we need to know about the health of the president or someone who wants to be president in terms of fitness to serve. Okay, fitness to serve in terms of if someone's ill, it could cause tremendous problems for them to perform as president. And if Biden is ill and he's taking medication because he's ill, we need to know that. And to the extent that's covered up, that's extremely problematic. We need transparency. And when people run for office, we need extreme transparency in terms of their health. Remember, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack on the campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And he came right back. But imagine, when people are running for president and their health is an issue. It happened many times.
COVID restrictions are obviously going to be an issue tonight as well. Trump is calling for reopening schools, reopening states. He's applauding the Florida governor there for lifting all restrictions on businesses, restaurants, etc. down in Florida. There are no more COVID restrictions. Meanwhile, other states, like our state here, the People's Republic of Minnesota with Governor Walz, Timmy the Tyrant, only enhancing and getting more restrictive. So this is going to be a big issue. But what was, I thought, again, calculated by the president, last night he drops 150 million COVID tests onto the country. And so now we're going to be COVID testing in schools. I think I saw nursing homes, hospice facilities, and other locations like that so that schools can remain open. Was this strategery here, or is this something that the president is doing simply for show and debate, or do you think that this is something that the president is doing to appease the people, or is he doing this to help encourage governors to reopen their states, or is he doing this to debunk COVID numbers that are being escalated like what we saw in Milwaukee in the state of Wisconsin?
I think he's doing it for a couple of reasons, right? One is to promote states to open and open safely, right? We've had an incredible amount of economic harm done to the citizens of the United States of America, right? Millions of people are still out of work. We've had a K-shaped recovery with regard to the stock market. That's not really reflective of what's going on Main Street. A lot of people are unemployed. A lot of things are not open. And I think the only way for things to be open is for small businesses to feel comfortable and safe reopening things, meaning that they can test. They could test their employees. They could test their customers. They could take people's temperatures. Whatever needs to be done to create some level of comfort and security for people to go back to normal. It might be new normal, but that's what people need to do. Do testing, and also show those numbers, right? I mean, the numbers mean nothing if, for example, 100 people are test positive for COVID. Does that mean 100 people out of a million that were tested, or 100 people out of 100 people that were tested? So the numbers are completely abstract and random. When I hear numbers, I don't know what my denominator is. I know what my numerator is.
Richard, you went out for a birthday dinner last night with the missus, right? And so let's just say that some of these 150 million tests land on the doorstep of businesses like the establishment that you were out eating or having cocktails and whatnot. These are 15-minute tests, right? So you can have results basically before your table becomes available. Are you going to submit to the maitre d' or the hostess saying, "Okay, sir, I'm going to need you to come over here and lend me your nostril"? Are you letting these people shove this stuff up your brain and do COVID swabs? Is this some sort? I mean, first of all, Richard, the question to you: are you willing? And then the legal question, Manny: is this lawful for establishments to be able to demand this of their customers?
Well, first of all, I will say that we walked out on a place. We went to Crave. And I had made reservations for 12 people, and we got there, and they had the tables sectioned off into 6, and they were about 12 feet apart. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not going to work for us. We're all family. So we, of course, my mother took charge as usual and found us a place, and we went to the tavern. And we all our table was 2 feet apart, but we all sat together. We had a great dinner. And so I think it's ridiculous, man. And when we had Sunday Fun Day, we were across the river in Wisconsin. Nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody is social distancing. The football games were on. Everyone's high-fiving, hugging, drunk, kissing each other, drinking each other's beer. And nobody fell out. Nobody died. Their flesh didn't fall off. So to answer your question, no, I'm not going to lend my nostril to nobody.
Manny, what about the legality behind that? Are businesses like restaurants, facilities, really lawfully able to take samples like that? I mean, and then are they qualified to examine the results of said test?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends on the state, right? If the state is mandating that they do it, then they have no choice but do it. Because if they don't do it, then they face fines. You do have a question now of privacy. What do they do with those test results? Do they know your name? Are there privacy issues? Is there HIPAA issues around the fact that you tested positive? Do they then have a statutory obligation to report you to the state? And then do you need to quarantine and all that? So it opens up a whole Pandora's box of things, which is kind of nuts. I don't necessarily mind the people, when you go into a place somebody takes your temperature or something like that. That to me kind of makes sense. At the end of the day, the touchless thermometer thing, I mean, if that's what we got to do, fine. I have issues with testing in terms of either somebody doing a swab up my nostril or the spit test or whatever. That's really nobody's business. In New York right now, we have outdoor dining, and we have limited indoor dining as of tomorrow. It'll be 25% capacity. So if people are socially distant, what's the big deal, right? You can take the subway in New York. You need to wear a mask. You could do things where you wear a mask. And I'm not saying I support wearing a mask. I'm saying there are things that are permissible that people are allowed to do without being tested to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a problem with it. Hey, Stu, where you been? Oh, I've been quarantined for 14 days. Oh, yeah? Who locked you down? Oh, Crave. The hostess at the restaurant. She told me I had to. I don't know. I think this is overreach, much like almost everything that's going on in our country right now. Let's move on in the debates to the SCOTUS nominations. Manny, this is going to be huge. Lots of things going on with Coney Barrett. She's pretty clean. She's pretty damn clean. I don't know. They're going to go after her Catholicism because that's all they have. Meanwhile, Feinstein was the one going after her, saying that she was cultic or that she was in a cult because of this Catholicism. By the way, Feinstein, the same one who Tucker Carlson had exclusive footage of her last night maskless. You got to wear the mask, but I don't have to wear the mask. So, it's the Nancy Pelosi, Feinstein. It's the typical liberal progressive laws for thee, but not for me type approach. What are going to be the positions of the two candidates tonight on the SCOTUS nomination, starting with Biden?
Biden is going to go to a fairness argument, right? I mean, Dick Durbin was on Meet the Press. Senator Durbin was on Meet the Press this weekend, and he pretty much said, look, there's nothing that the Democrats can do to stop the nomination. Trump has every right under the Constitution to nominate a justice, and the Senate has every right to take that nomination and confirm that nominee. So there's really nothing the Democrats could do to stop it. What they're going to do is say this is unfair. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her dying wish was for the people to decide the election, and that next president would then nominate her replacement. So it's so close to an election right now, Biden's going to say, we need to hear the will of the people, and we're a couple of weeks away from the general election. The presidential election, let's just wait and see what happens.
They did hear the will of the people. We elected Trump to appoint. We put a majority Republican Senate to confirm. They did hear the will of the people. And Manny, I mean, right now, the president is the president. The Constitution doesn't say that he may or that he might or that he can. It says that he shall appoint a replacement to a vacated Supreme Court justice seat. So how is Trump going to swing back at Biden on that?
I think Trump's going to say, hey, look, we need a Supreme Court. We need a full bench of 9 justices. And I have the ability under the Constitution to nominate a judge. Now, what I'm also hearing is that, because this justice, in terms of ACB, she will clearly be in a position to determine the election if election issues in terms of paper ballots or whatever, mail-in ballots, absentee ballots are before her, she should recuse herself. That's complete BS. And I'll
Right.
tell you why. Because there's only one way that a justice can get on a Supreme Court. That's nominated by a president confirmed by the Senate. There's no other way. And
Right.
a judge is supposed to be impartial. If there's questions about impartiality, then the Senate has every opportunity, Judiciary Committee, to go with those questions. When she is confirmed, she will have every right as every other justice. She's not a justice in waiting. She is a full associate justice with full rights under the Constitution to act as such. So this whole thing about her recusing herself, whatever, is preposterous. There is a chance when you get nominated by a president that an issue about that president, involving that president, could come before you. It happens all the time.
Well,
happens
but
all the time.
furthermore,
This is not uncommon.
Manny, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she is a day in or 10 years in. As we discussed before, every day that the Supreme Court is not able to make a ruling on a case is another day that the people's work isn't getting done. And furthermore, as an elected official, all these people need to understand or realize that you were elected to get our shit done, our work done. And it's very clear that the for the people has lost its way in our government. These people don't care about their constituents. They care about votes. They care about being reelected, and they care about money.
They talk about all of the issues, but never really focus on a solution, because that would force you to be objective, and then you would lose some of your base because you can't satisfy everybody. So actually coming up with a solution is not part of the issue here. The goal here is just to attack. And speaking of attack, Manny, we're going to be under attack. It's my prediction, and I believe that you agree with me here, that on November 3rd, we're not going to know who the president is. Joe Biden is going to refuse to concede. I believe that you're the one that originally put that little nugget of negativity into this pea-sized brain of mine. And that's a really disturbing thing, because if he refuses to concede, are major news networks and outlets going to officially call the election if he doesn't?
What I'm hearing is no, that the news outlets will not call this election. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there are statisticians, there are pollsters, there are political scientists who do this stuff for a living, not just for this election. Okay, they're not just weekend warriors. They do this stuff. They're PhDs, they're professors, whatever. They're statisticians, and they have technology. Okay, they have high-powered technology here to make a determination based upon polling, people going in and out of the poll sites, right? Based upon the polling that they're doing up until Election Day, including Election Day, to make a determination of who won. But they will not make that call. Because if they make that call, that will not feed into Biden not conceding. But so Biden is going to just say, I am not accepting these results. And to some extent, he will have some colorable argument to the extent that there are paper ballots that need to be counted. Because some states, unfortunately, have allowed, in accordance with state law, now election law is mostly state law, to accept paper ballots for up to 2 weeks after Election Day.
Wow.
Now think about that. They're not talking about postmark 2 weeks. They're talking about received 2 weeks. But let me be clear. If something is accepted 2 weeks, and it should be after Election Day, and it should be postmarked November 3rd, do you think if something is postmarked November 5th, that this Board of Elections potentially, or Biden, could go to a court in that respective state and get a ballot that's postmarked November 5th and say, look, the mail was overwhelmed, the post office was overwhelmed.
Yeah, show us a little bit of latitude.
Accept ballots 2 days after Election Day? Of course.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you would accept ballots 2 weeks after. Now we're going to play games with the postmarks. And that's the stuff that's going to go to the courts. And that's why the ACB getting her on the court is important, because all these states, all the battleground states, 8, 10 states, whatever, they're going to have issues, which are all going to roll up to the Supreme Court. We can't have a deadlock court at 4-4. We need a bench full of justices, 9-justice court.
Manny Alicandro, New York attorney, a friend of PC Radio and a contributor. I'm really glad to have you. Also a contributor with the OpsLens Network and the host of Real and Unfiltered. Tell us when and where we can find you and where we can read your writings and all that kind of stuff, Manny.
Great, absolutely, yeah. So I'm on OpsLens. My show's on OpsLens, on Facebook, on the OpsLens website, on the OpsLens app, and it's on at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, streaming live. I'm also contributing written content now on OpsLens, and my Twitter is Manny_Alicandro.
All right, can't wait to have you back. Coming up in the second half, we're going to talk about more of this ballot harvesting, cash for ballots going on, a new drop by Project Veritas. And also, Richard had an experience last night that we're going to talk about. The missus is pissed off. More PC Radio right after this. Don't go anywhere. My name is Stu. That's Rich. Stick around. Hey, it's Stu Peters with the Patriotically Correct radio show, here to talk to you more about Johnson Jewelers. I talk about them a lot. I talk about them because they're paying us to, but also because we have personal experience, or at least I do, with Johnson Jewelers. And if you have not had personal experience with Johnson Jewelers, it's because maybe that you were unaware, but now you are aware. And whether you're located near or around Woodbury, Minnesota is irrelevant, because Johnson Jewelers can provide service to you no matter where you are, globally, internationally, as well as around the world at johnsonjewelers.com. Maybe you have that old pendant or crest or stone that you want turned into a custom piece of jewelry. Maybe you have some jewelry that needs to be restored, or maybe you want something completely new made for you. You have something in mind? Just a quick visit to the website, a couple of phone calls, an email exchanged here and there, and you have the personal custom piece of jewelry meant for you. Visit them online right now, johnsonjewelers.com, johnsonjewelers.com. That's johnsonjewelers.com.
We will force votes.
We will not stop.
Any Republican senator is part of the cover-up.
What the f?
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
This is madness.
The PC Radio Show with Stu and Rich. Back in a minute.
Hey, it's Stu Peters and Richard Leonard for Adjust Today Chiropractic. Now, I want you to take a look at this. This is the website for Adjust Today Chiropractic, which obviously is at adjusttodaychiropractic.com. Dr. Dustin Dukart says you're in good hands. He believes everyone has a chance to experience the benefits of chiropractic care. He'd love to find out how to skillfully take care of you and your spine, and that can be done even on Saturdays. He makes himself available on Saturdays. And Richard, you know how important it is to be properly aligned.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's no secret that proper alignment is good for you, not only in just an everyday health aspect, but also, I mean, it can help things that you don't even know that it helps. Now, Dr. Dustin Dukart does specialize in like athletic pain and things like that, but also, I mean, chiropractic care can help with allergies, migraines, all kinds of stuff. Visit him today, adjusttodaychiropractic.com, adjusttodaychiropractic.com. That's adjusttodaychiropractic.com.
Patriotically correct, politically biased, emotionally disturbed. On behalf of all of us at Mojo, we apologize. Stewart's and Richard, PC Radio.
Second half of Patriotically Correct Radio, broadcasting live from the Johnson Jewelers Studios. My name is Stu. That is Richard Leonard. It's always great to have Manny Alicandro on, because he really does a great job of. He kind of reminds me in a sense of Joe the Cop, because he's not playing around, you know, he's very well studied, and then he comes from an angle where I haven't thought about it that way, and that's probably because he has more than a half a brain, and it's nice for people on this program to be able to hear stuff like that. And Richard, during the break, while we were paying bills there, talking more about Johnson Jewelers, you brought up a pretty good point about Microsoft and the 911 outage that we reported on last night.
Yes. First of all, before we get to that, I want to say this and get past it. Although Trump elected or nominated a judge, it was disappointing. His pick was disappointing, but we'll get past it. And yes, so
his pick was disappointing.
Earlier,
what are you talking about? Who's better than ACB?
Well, we all know who's better. Well, good old Judge Janine would have been the best pick, I think.
We got to get you an appearance here on the Fox News channel. You could be part of her attack style monologues every day. You could just, you know what you could just do is just grab some pom poms and cheer for her squad while she's doing her monologue.
I would.
You definitely love her.
She's a shark.
Okay, so you were saying about this. I'm
so we had talked about in the first segment that you had mentioned that Microsoft had all these government contracts for the VoIP service that powers our 911 system.
This is what somebody said on our Twitter account. I haven't confirmed that that's actually the case, but go ahead.
Well, it would be quite convenient Isn't there a bunch of talk about how Bill Gates is going to take over George Soros's boots whenever he dies or decides to quit being an asshole?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not Soros's son, I would imagine Bill Gates is alleged to be behind the vaccine, and he wants to track everybody in America, and he's doing a good job of that with Microsoft and all of that. So your point is that if Microsoft has all the government contracts and their stuff went down simultaneous to the 911 deal, and they have government contracts that could potentially be attacked to the 911 via VoIP services, that could present a whole new conspiracy theory. I agree with you. I mean, look, it's no accident that happened last night. Somebody was involved with meddling in that. And my message last night was, look, if we're going to be sitting ducks, War 101 says destroy the communications. Take out communications of the enemy. Somebody who can't communicate with each other is sitting ducks. Imagine being on a football team and your whole defense never talks. They never talk to each other the whole game. They're going to be the most disorganized defense you've ever seen. I mean, there's constant communication going on. They're going to get picked apart. They're going to be air assaulted and ground assaulted in every way. They're going to be just absolutely trounced upon if they don't communicate with one another. It's the same thing in war. Look at old movies like Iron Eagle. Get down and get out of your flight suit now. Those guys, what's the first thing they went in and did? Chappie said, "Yeah, take out those towers, son. Take out those towers, Doug." And Doug Masters went in there, and boy, did they rock 'em, sock 'em, man. I love that movie. We could sit and talk about that. Time to die, amigo. So, it's the enemy wants to see us divided, and there's already proof that Russia meddled in the 2016 elections, and we know that they drop propaganda on us all the time to divide us, to keep us fighting here, and there's never been more polarization in America than there is right now. We're on the brink of a friggin' race war. We've got the Biden-Trump thing going on, the new president. There's such a hate for Trump. The media media blackouts on everything liberal progressive, from Hunter Biden to the 911 outage to the cash for ballots scheme going on here in Minneapolis. So this was a test run, in my opinion. I got a text message from a friend of mine last night saying, "Hey, stay extra vigilant tonight. 911 is out." And I just responded to him. I said, it's not going to happen tonight. This is going to happen, maybe election day, maybe just after that, maybe while the world is falling apart, as right here in the United States. I mean, right now we have this division, and it's really heightened, and precincts are burning down, and cops are being shot at in broad daylight. And Black Lives Matter wants to enhance this white apology thing, and there's people, the unrest is unprecedented. There's no denying that. But sources of mine inside of the government say that we're at a 1 on a scale of 10 as compared to what it's going to be. If that's the case, Fit's really about to hit the shan. And we better be ready. And so if we're all fighting each other and we deplete our own ammunition supplies, fighting one another like a bunch of stupid idiots, like the fire ants versus the black ants in the jar, not realizing the real enemy is he who shook the jar. And we go to the grocery stores and buy up all of the ass wipe and all the milk and all the water, and we have no resources and essential goods left. And we hate each other, and we've killed each other off, and half of the population is already gone. How easy then would it be for our real adversaries, China, Russia, to compile and comprise and effect and enact a physical invasion of our country at that point? Well, it would be about 50% easier. So, Richard, when things start happening here domestically, don't get involved. Hold on to your ammunition, because the real enemy will follow shortly after that.
Well, you might have a good point there. Is it true that the Russians or the Chinese or even the Italians are sitting, laying in waiting for us to destroy each other, and then our America as a whole is floundering.
There's confirmed reports that nuclear-capable Chinese submarines are sitting just off of our coast. There's unconfirmed reports that there's 200,000 Chinese troops in British Columbia, Canada. That's awfully close. The question is, how did they get there undetected? How did they get their weaponry in there? Is Canada allowing this? I mean, they haven't been too agreeable lately. But, I mean, that's a lot of troops, and that's why I say it's unconfirmed. I still have a lot of questions about that. Also, I have a lot of questions about the Project Veritas drop, and we played that on the show yesterday, and what O'Keefe did there. Now there's a new one. They were provided a tape. Let's take a look at it.
Project Veritas has received an explosive piece of tape. The tape you're about to see shows a man buying a registration form for an absentee ballot from a voter, giving him, quote, pocket money, unquote, of $200 and expecting to collect his ballot when the voter receives it.
But that's illegal.
So in another tape, a guy agrees to receiving $800 in exchange for his ballot. What was going on there, and the reason why I stopped it prematurely, is because for our listeners on iHeartRadio, you're probably not able to understand it. It's transcribed on the screen. But basically, the ballot harvester is telling the voter how to fill out the ballot, where to sign his name, how to provide his ID number, his social security number, where to sign it, and when he'll be able to collect the money in exchange for that ballot. He in the second half of this, Veritas talks to some people, and let's watch this one more time, Richard. So it says, now, take this money, and then the voter says...
Project Veritas has received an explosive piece of tape. The tape you're about to see shows a man buying a registration form for an absentee ballot from a voter, giving him, quote, pocket money, unquote, of $200 and expecting to collect his ballot when the voter receives it.
So he says, this is how you fill it out. Put your first name, your last name, your address, your telephone number, your ID number, your social security number, and after that you sign it. That's all. Yes. Tonight we will close the deal. Now take this money for your pocket change. And he says, okay, when I fill it out, I just bring it to you. Here's another tape of the $800. Our investigation has exposed a pay-to-vote scheme in Minnesota,
She's the
and it
one
looks
who came
like
up with all
Ilmar.
this.
So she did.
Ilhan Omar.
She started this whole thing with the pay to vote.
Yeah.
So the people that work for Ilhan are actually counting the ballots, counting the vote.
And they become a manager in the prison too.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
They walk with you to the booth, and then they vote. Oh, vote this guy, vote this guy, vote this guy. Vote even if you speak English.
Listen to this. They admit to paying Al-Shabaab.
The reason she's fighting for Palestine is because of this guy. So it's all about money and power, and they want her to defend Israel.
So now, if you remember, we released an investigation that was done by the Tyranny Real News Network, where the Bassem Sabri thing, that guy was tied to the George Floyd thing and the who released the videotapes and him being connected to the Rodeo El Nuevo and all these things. I mean, this is really starting to come to light. I mean, this guy specifically said Ilhan Omar is directly responsible. And then the guy talked about paying Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda to sending terrorist networks, known terrorist networks, money from what he's receiving for this cash for ballots scheme. Richard, this is going on right in Minneapolis, and the media is completely dark on this. A complete media blackout. The only place that I've seen this is on the Fox News channel. You don't see it on CNN, MSNBC. You don't see it on NBC. You don't see it on ABC. You don't see it on local news stations, Channel 5, Channel 4, Channel 9, Channel 11. You don't see it anywhere. They are protecting her.
Well, so here's my question. All these people are dropping bombs on her and exposing this whole corruption and mistrust of the whole system. Who's going to do anything about it? So let me just play devil's advocate here and say, okay, well, Omar's paying these people for votes and, they're funding terrorist groups and freedom fighters, if they want to call them that. Mm-hmm. So what? Nobody's going to do shit about it. Of course, we want everyone to know about it, especially the voters in her district, so that they don't vote for her, because we don't need this type of bullshit in our government, let alone in our very own cities, at our home. But who's going to do anything about it? It doesn't seem like, even if there's proof, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to do anything about it.
The Minneapolis Police Department sent out a tweet saying, yeah, we're aware. We're aware that this has been alleged, and we're launching an investigation. So the Minneapolis Police Department does their investigation. Then I'm assuming that they refer it to the feds because, voting is a federal issue, especially if you're voting for the president. That's a federal issue. And so then who gets involved? The Department of Justice. And then the Department of Justice, headed up by AG Barr. Here's what I'm saying. I think there needs to be a bipartisan call for Ilhan Omar to be removed from Congress immediately.
I agree.
This is a earth-shattering, damning piece of evidence. And yesterday, when we aired the first one on the show that Project Veritas was responsible for collecting, her name was named as well. Mm-hmm. She's completely out there. She's being exposed by people in the very community where she went in there paying all these people to vote for her. That Cedar Riverside community is a breeding ground for terrorists, number one. And then it's full of elderly minority individuals. Those who are not terrorists are elderly minority individual immigrants who can't really speak English, who feel that they're oppressed, who claim that they don't get the support of the police, who claim that nobody gives a shit about them, and they can be easily intimidated. And it was reported that in some instances, they're not exchanging cash. They're just demanding the ballots. Give me your ballot. Give it to me. And that's what that King, what's-his-name, did yesterday in the film that we watched.
Yep. And I wonder where she's at. I mean, I haven't seen or heard of her saying anything about any of this. And also, I'd be really interested in knowing, what it was that she did for these folks to out her. You and I both know, after all these years of hunting shitbags, and some of them have been Somali, it is impossible to get these folks to roll on each other.
Well, it was an undercover deal. I don't think that they knew that they were outing her. You can tell by the footage.
The lady was talking to the guy.
Yeah, but I think she was talking to somebody who's undercover. She doesn't know that she's exposing this for Project Veritas. Veritas just gets their hands on it and then they drop it, kind of like a WikiLeaks type of a deal. But maybe she did know. I don't know. Usually, it's pretty tight-lipped when you know that you're dealing with something like that. But maybe people are just tired of. Okay, so Ilhan Omar, you're up there, you're in Congress, you're doing absolutely nothing for us. All you're doing is inciting riot and violence here in the very community that you claim to represent. You've completely forgotten about us. You've left us behind. You haven't fulfilled any of your campaign promises. All you're doing is ravaging the president. You're part of the squad. You're an elitist now. You're basically untouchable, and that would piss them off. Just like it pisses me off when politicians that claim to be your friend will gladly take your donation, but then won't come on your damn radio show to talk about, their campaign. And they become untouchable. Even before they're elected, they become untouchable. No, your little piddly-ass radio show, that's not good enough for me. But when you're in a dead heat race, I'd be talking to every single Tom, Dick, and Harry standing on the corner with a microphone. And for those of you that missed the show yesterday, I want to go back to the original Project Veritas drop that happened here by James O'Keefe in Minneapolis.
Here in downtown Minneapolis at the scene of the crime, the person you're about to meet, Liban Mohammed, a.k.a. King Liban 1, boasts about the hundreds of absentee ballots in his car.
Numbers don't lie. Wajida gaarigaygu waa buuxaa. Waxaas waa absent ballot salka yaala. Soo ma jeedin. Fiiri, waxaas oo dhan soo ma jeedin. Waa buuxaa gaarigayga. Waa buuxa yaala. Waxaas kullu waa Jamaal Cusmaan way. Fiiri. 300 clear maanta soo dhacday oo Jamaal Cusmaan. Yeah.
There was video. You can see the video. There was a video out and about that he has the ballots in his car.
Right.
And talking about the only way you can win is with money. I was looking at them and they were not filled. They were blank.
Who is the one filling out the absentee ballots? People who work with, like Ilhan Omar. Where do they pay the money? The minute we sign the thing, the election, that's what you can pay.
Money is everything. Money is the key in this world. If you ain't got money, you should not be here, period.
Marka odayaasha waa loo codsadaa. Waana laga qaadaa.
At the end of this street,
Yes.
there's 3 towers called 1 tower.
Okay.
And it's all seniors, and they took every ballot.
Every ballot. They just take
Every
them from
single
them.
ballot. They knock on the door and say, your ballots come, give it to me.
They don't even pay them for it. They just take them.
No. And the ones that didn't vote on ballots, the young people and the women and stuff, they were paying cash. They were carrying bags of money the last time we were here.
Carrying bags and bags of money.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I really hope that you're right. I hope that somebody's investigating this and it really gets solved. And I would think that voter fraud and voter harvesting like this, especially for a presidential campaign, would immediately spark a federal investigation.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I believe that if Republicans don't immediately call for her to be out of office and step down from Congress, there's a problem there. And if her colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle don't get directly involved and say, yeah, we support that, they're just showing more of their ass. They're just showing more of their corruption, and they're showing how shameless they are. They do not care about the American people. They do not care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your vote. If they can't beat him, they're going to cheat him. The mail-in stuff, we played footage here a couple of weeks ago on the show of a U.S. postal employee taking a whole plastic bin of mail and dumping it in the dumpster. That's what's going to happen to your ballots. And it's become a partisan thing to vote by mail. You're not a real Democrat if you don't mail in your ballot. You're not a real Republican if you don't go there without your mask on and say F your regulations. We've become so polarized and so divided over the COVID restrictions and over the BLM and the black versus white and the Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor, the SCOTUS nomination, the Biden versus Trump, the racism. It's all dividing us. And what it's doing is it's meant to distract away from real issues like this. Real issues where real criminal activity is happening at the highest levels of our government, and the media is completely silent. They're complicit, and they are part of the corruption.
Well, that's just even more of a reason why everybody out there should join the Truth Brigade, get that OpsLens app, and tell the truth. And it's very maddening. It makes you want to punch somebody.
On the 1st of October, which is the day after tomorrow, I can't believe where this year has gone. I can't believe that 34 days away from the presidential elections. And if Manny Alicandro is right, we're not going to know on November 3rd who our president is. It's actually his prediction, which he told us off the air, that we may not even know who our president is until the middle of March, which would lead to a constitutional crisis, and which would put the Speaker of the House, whoever that is, assuming it'll be Nancy Pelosi, in the Oval Office, which at that point we have more than a constitutional crisis. We have damn insanity going on in this country. Because you know that Nancy Pelosi is not for you, and you know that by the way that she was just like a criminal sneaking into the hair salon to get her hair blowed out and get her updo or whatever it was that she was doing, and she didn't have her mask on, and she's creeping around and sneaking around. And then Dianne Feinstein, that crazy bitch, she's the one that was part of authoring the laws that force you to wear a mask. And then there she is standing in line at the airport. We saw it on Tucker Carlson last night. He had the exclusive footage of her standing there with her mask on. They don't care about you. This isn't about safety. This is about control and compliance. They don't care about these liberal progressives that say that they care about justice and social justice and they care about minorities and black people. They do not. They don't care about black people. What they want to do is keep black people and minorities like these Somalis enslaved. Yes. And the proof is in the pudding with people like Ilhan Omar sending her people down there to the Cedar Riverside neighborhood where her people, her Somali immigrants, her brothers and sisters live, so that she can take advantage of these elderly people, and the ones that they can't take advantage of, they can pay for. They can put a little pocket money in their pockets. You know what? These people probably already feel so defeated, they probably feel that their vote doesn't count anyways. So you know what? $300, $400, $500, $800? Yeah, you bet. Why not? What does my vote really mean anyways? Of course, here's the ballot.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And furthermore, I bet that bitch lives down in the suburbs somewhere anyhow. And she's not even among the people that she claims to care about so much that are from her home, and all these people that she promised to bend over backwards to take care of and make sure that everything was okay. Stupid. Get her the hell out of there. She's stupid. God dang it.
The COVID restrictions are plaguing here in the state of Minnesota. It's going to only get worse as the tyrant Tim Walz is saying that now it looks like that schools may not be able to remain open as they have been opened, and that there's going to be an increased amount of positive cases. He's already talking about shutting schools down again, putting more restrictions on businesses than he already has. Meanwhile, in the state of Florida, the governor there has lifted all of the COVID restrictions and has completely opened up his state. Sweden is completely open. All right, you don't hear about issues going on over there, and they have a pretty free media. We would know about major deaths happening in Sweden if it was happening. We would know about major deaths happening in Florida if it was happening. We would know about the major increase in cases. And if this thing is contagious and as deadly as Timmy the Tyrant is telling us that it is, then why are essential employees not dropping like flies?
Because it's all a farce, my man. It's all bullshit.
That's your answer. Well, and I agree with you.
I mean, you would think, bro, that these folks would be the businesses wouldn't be able to be open at all. If this all was true, everybody would be quarantined. 14 days, go back to work. Oh no, we've been exposed again. Quarantine. You had mentioned it earlier in the show that this is all about keeping small business down. America thrives on the success of small businesses. People like you and me who work for and run small businesses. That's how we feed our families. That's how we put food on the table. And for a man who claimed to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when he joined the military, he sure is doing a number on us as a people, especially being the leader of our state.
A friend of ours, Gidget, who is the owner of Tin Cups in St. Paul at the intersection of Rice and Maryland, which is where we caught up to Jason Lewis. The health inspectors just walked in there again yesterday. I talked to her on the phone last night. And she said, yep, go ahead, do your inspection. And they said, no, we're not here for that. We're here for mask mandate. And by the way, that guy doesn't have his mask on, or it had fallen down or whatever. And, she's like, you know what? Get the hell out of here. The two of you pulled up here in your vehicle without wearing a mask on. Don't the taxpayers deserve a little bit more than this? And they said, well, we don't get paid by the taxpayer. What do you mean?
Yeah, you certainly do, buddy.
You're state employees. And so they said, well, we'll be back tomorrow. And Gidget said, good, well, I'll have the news media here. And I hope Gidget does, because people are so fed up with this. They want their kids in school. They want to be able to earn a living. Think about waitresses and waiters. Think about business owners, that have, they're limited to this occupancy thing. I mean, I'm sure that Crave didn't want to see you walk out of there last night.
I'm sure they did. Not 12 people.
They didn't want to see you take your business elsewhere. 12 people at Crave. I mean, depending on what you order, that could be up near definitely $1,000 or more.
All eating sushi.
Eating sushi and having cocktails. I know that there were 7 of us, 4 of which were adults, that went to a restaurant in the Wisconsin Dells a few months ago or whatever it was. You remember when I went down there. Mm-hmm. We went to the steakhouse that's located inside of the resort there. It was $1,000 for 4 adults and 3 kids. No. There were seven adults. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, there weren't. There were, I don't know how many of us there were, damn it. There were 4 adults, though. I know that. The rest of them were kids. We got a lot of kids. So I think there's 7 kids is what there is altogether. But, it's $1,000. So that was for 4 adults. And I just can't imagine that these people want to continue this. So we're going to see what happens. It's going to be interesting. The debates are tonight. Richard, your last final words.
Yeah, pop your popcorn and strap in. Sleepy Joe's going back to the basement. That's what I'm doing.
I don't know. I think he might get COVID today.
Great.
Gosh, I hope nothing bad happens.
It'll help with his dementia.
God bless him. I really hope nothing bad happens. Until tomorrow at 4 o'clock, here's what's up to it. Here's what's down to it. Here's to any way you can get to it. Here's to those that don't do it, maybe be dragged to it, tied to it, or forced to it. And here's to us who do it, because we're the ones that's used to it. Remember, to fly low and avoid the radar, there's no doubt that one day they're going to come for the car. And when they do, save the radio!
To know them, grow to love them, love to hate them. Stewie and Richie, PC Radio.